All right, good morning, everyone. It is so good to see all your beautiful faces. Welcome to Empowered Women, Empower Women, presented by Women United. I'm David Smith. I am so grateful to be the CEO of United Way for Greater Austin. I think it's pretty clear I'm not a woman, so thanks for letting me be here with you. Three things I know for sure. Men who respect and support women leaders are welcome here. This work of fighting poverty is going to take all of us. We are all stronger when we work together. And the more women we have in power, the more all of us benefit. So I want to start off by recognizing today's event chairs. We were originally planning, as many of you know, for this event to be in the spring. So they had been working hard for many months to make today such a special, successful event. So please, everybody give a huge thanks to Maria Aguiluz, Kristin Marcum, and Marianne Rochelle. Thank you for everything you all have done. Yes. I also want to acknowledge our amazing Women United Executive Committee. I want to invite them to wave so everybody can see who they are, and we can all give them a huge thanks too. And thanks to the United Way board members in attendance. They're my bosses and they are the best. So thank you so much to you all for showing up. And as always, we want to give a huge thanks to today's sponsors. These are companies that care about making our community a better place for all. And we are so grateful for the support of Texas Mutual, Locklord, J.E. Dunn, Graves, Doherty, Heron and Moody, Baker Botts, Gypsy Floral, Kendra Scott, and Missy Mendel and JB Bleckley. Thank you so much. Let's all give them a big round of applause and give them our thanks. I know that many of you know about our work here at United Way for Greater Austin. Our mission is to bring people, ideas, and resources together to fight poverty in our community. Always, but I would say especially in these times, I am so proud to be part of an organization whose sole existence is to bring us together, to help us reach higher ground by finding our common ground. So our work falls into three focus areas: education, health, and financial stability. All of those are building blocks for creating opportunity, especially for the people who are working so hard and still struggling to make ends meet. So our work at United Way is not about putting Band-Aids on situations, but addressing the root causes of our challenges so that everyone can reach their full potential. As you can imagine, since mid-March, when COVID hit our community, this work fighting poverty has become even more important. At our 211 helpline, we are answering 4 times our typical call volume for people who need food, rental and utility assistance, childcare, and so much more. And first-time callers are up by over 300%. So we've staffed up to make sure that every one of those callers gets a live, caring human voice. We're also working urgently to support childcare providers and our community partners who serve families with low incomes. And we're proud to be distributing more than $6 million into our community through the COVID relief fund that we started with our friends at Austin Community Foundation. If you remember only one thing that I say today, remember this: Women United makes all of this work possible. We could not do this without you. And so I want to recognize and thank all the Women United members today. You'll see them wearing flower crowns. Thank you for your investment in this work. They even brought me a flower crown, so I'm wearing it in spirit and solidarity with all of you. I just don't have enough hair to hold it up. So I will set it aside and for the rest of the week, honor all of you every time I see it. But thank you. What's really exciting is about half of you are new. That means that everyone with a flower crown believes in and supports our work and is inviting you to be part of it. So those of you who are new and are here to learn more, a warm, warm welcome. We hope you're inspired to join our movement to create an Austin that works for everyone. And I'm proud to say that I think that's going to happen a lot more quickly with women leading the charge. So let's just all soak up this chance to be together. It may not be together in person, but we are definitely together and being bound in a common dream for a better Austin for all. So now I get to introduce the moderator for today's powerhouse panel that you all get to hear. She's one of my favorite people. She's the secretary of the United Way board. She's a strong, compassionate community leader. She's president of Elizabeth Christian PR and one of the kindest, funniest, most generous, all-around good people I know. Please give a very warm welcome to Kristin Marcum.
It's a privilege to be here today, to be a part of today's Women United event to talk about some of my favorite things, United Way for Greater Austin and empowering women, and even better to do it with some of my favorite people. David mentioned what I do professionally, but my most important job is being mom to my 3 sons. They're the reason why I support United Way and am a member of Women United. I want to ensure that the Austin of the future, my kids' Austin, your kids' Austin, offers opportunity for all. And I think United Way is just the organization to make that happen. And women are just the people to make it happen. Today's theme is Empowered Women, Empower Women. And today's guests live out that mantra in all they do. They're accomplished leaders in their fields and communities. And what I find really exceptional about each of them, each of you, and I'm going to borrow a quote from one of our panelists, Kristy, is that they, and I quote, lift as they climb, mentoring, and yes, empowering others in their journey. So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists. First, Austin City Council member, Natasha Harper Madison. You represent District 1 in the city of Austin, and that's where you were born and raised. Council member Harper Madison has experience as a small business owner, in addition to serving as president of the East 12th Merchants Association and founder of East Austin Advocates. As a council member Harper Madison is particularly interested in health and human services, judicial reform, and affordable housing. Councilmember Harper Madison is a thriving breast cancer survivor and mother of 4. Thank you for being here. I'm a mother of 3, so mother of 4, I tip my hat to you. Kathy Bonner is a business leader, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and photographer. She has experience in the private sector, owning and selling a number of businesses, and serving as CEO and board chair of Service King. And now
So sorry, y'all, for this slight technical difficulty. Hold with us 1 second.
National Collision Repair Services Company. In the public sector, Kathy served in the administration of Texas Governor Ann Richards, where she created the Smart Jobs program for Texas. Kathy also founded the Women's Museum, a Smithsonian affiliate museum in Dallas covering American women's history. I look forward to hearing more about that. Thank you for being here, Kathy.
Thank you.
Melini Rajput is the Central Texas Market President at Capital One Bank. Melini has almost 20 years of experience in the financial services industry, and in her spare time, and I use that word kind of jokingly, she's an active community volunteer, including service as chair of the board of United Way for Greater Austin. Melini is mom to 5-year-old Jaden and 2-year-old Ava, and as you'll hear when she speaks, Melini comes to us from Adelaide, Australia. And finally, Christy Gonzalez has served as president and general manager of KView, Austin's ABC station, since 2016. She's also a United Way for Greater Austin board member. Christy, in her role as president and GM of KView, manages more than 125 employees who produce over 20 hours of award-winning live news and programming every week. And under her leadership, KView became the most watched news station in the market, winning 5 out of 7 weekday news time periods among 25 to 54-year-old adults. And that's a pretty big deal. Thank you all for being here. Today's conversation will focus on empowering women. I know when I make time to attend an event like this, I want to leave with some tangible pieces of information that I can incorporate into my life immediately. And I think that we'll leave you all with some things like that that you can put into practice in your own lives. I'll direct some of the questions to all of our panelists, and some of them will be based on individuals, based on her area of expertise. So let's start with the theme of today's event: empowered women, empower women. So here's the first question: how do you empower women? So if I could start with you, council member, how do you empower women in your life?
I think empowering other women really begins with seeing them. You know, so often we go through the world and people, they see what they want to see, but they can't quite see us. So I think it starts with seeing them, truly seeing them, seeing their value, seeing their worth, their joy, and maybe most importantly, seeing their struggle. That's when we really show up for one another most substantively, at least. I think it's my mission, rather, to never, ever watch my sisters struggle in solitude. It's the loneliest place to be. So that's when you build her up. That's when you remind her what she's capable of, and that it's okay to not be okay, that you have her back when she's ready to get up again. And I would add that taking every available opportunity to do two things, because I think they're of equal importance. To edify other women empowers them, and frankly, not missing opportunities to really offer some constructive criticism. I know sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but I think it's paramount to do both things. And I think empowerment comes in both places.
How about you, Kathy? How do you empower women?
By letting their light shine, even if it dims yours for a time being. You know, they say the sun is always shining, and it's only when the moon gets between the sun and the earth. And for a short time, it might dim your light to empower somebody else, but it's well worth it as a goal, I believe. I spent my professional life in business, so I tried to empower the women that I worked with. We're all standing on the shoulders of a lot of brave, independent women that came before us. And whenever I had the chance, first of all, hire women, until I went to be CEO of Service King Collision Repair Centers, which was 97% male. Almost all my staffs were women. And I hire women, and that's the first thing you can do to empower women. Mentor them, even shadow them, so that they learn while they're being mentored. Promote them. And I think most of all, I'm sorry about that, that's my puppy. Most of all, you want to build their confidence, their self-confidence, that they can do it even as they're starting out. So you want to encourage their light to shine.
I think that's great. We can all do well together. What about you, Melini?
It's super important to be vulnerable. I think many times, especially young women, they see women like us up on the stage and they think they've got it all together. They have the right answers. They're in these roles. They know what to say. They know what to do. And that's not the case. I think for me, and I'm a mentor, I mentor young women, and I'm very proud and I feel humbled and gracious that I'm able to do that. But that's one of the main areas I focus in, is knowing and sharing my errors, my mistakes, most importantly, how I learned from them, but that I made them. And we're all human. And so I think because it's newer to see this many women that are at the top of their game and leading organizations, that it hasn't always been the case. Certainly not when I started my career 20 years ago, it didn't look the way it did today. I think it's important to be very vulnerable and honest and share with young women how you got where you are, and be vulnerable and share your insecurities.
Especially in the age of social media, we're not always posting our flaws, are we? So being honest and sharing those, I think, can do a lot. And Christy, what about you? I know you do a ton of mentoring.
I love mentoring, and I would not be where I am now if it weren't for that. So thank you, Melini, and others who I know spend their time doing that, because women opened the door for me. And my mentor, my career sponsor, specifically said, of the 10 years that she invested in me, you need to give back to others in the same manner. In the industry I work in, less than 20% of general managers of TV stations are females, and less than 8% are people of color. So a lot of us are industries where we're facing an uphill battle. And that's why I think opening doors for other women is so important, and spending your personal time doing that, but also rising to a position of power in the business that you are in, like Kathy being a CEO. You can make a lot of change if you get into those seats. What do I mean? I mean, running pay equity data. Are women paid as much as men are in your organization? Hiring women, making sure that your leadership team reflects the diversity that you see in your community. Those are all things that you can do a lot easier when you're in a position of power. So I spend a lot of time encouraging women as well, especially women of color, to get in those rooms and be in those roles where we can make a real difference.
And I think to get in those roles, we've got to have the courage to ask to be in those roles. I had a mentor tell me a long time ago that you get what you have the courage to ask for. And I see some heads nodding here. Can y'all tell me about a time that you maybe had the courage to ask for what you wanted, and how that's made an impact in your life?
Courage is another one of those things. You know, it really exposes your vulnerabilities. Not everyone, that doesn't come easy to everyone. So I think for me personally, it started at a young age. And if I'm being vulnerable with you all here today, I'm from very humble beginnings, immigrant family. So I learned hardworking at a very young age. And probably one of the first times I had to be courageous was when I wanted to go to college. No one in my family had ever been to college before. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. And that was courageous for a couple of reasons. First, because nobody had laid out the path before me. It was an unknown. So the fact that I wanted to do that and I wanted to learn about it was sort of out of the path that I was sort of almost designated to walk on, right? So I felt at the time a little bit out of my comfort zone. And that's what I would encourage women to do is to get out of your comfort zone, because as a result of that, I went to college, and then it has afforded me that education has afforded me, a tremendous career. And in that career, like I said earlier, 20 years ago, it looked very different than it does today. And many times I was the only woman in the room. Work spoke for itself, and to have the courage to ask or to let my superiors know that I deserve to be in that room. That's not something that comes easy. That's not something that you wake up in the morning and you think, I can do that. So courage has been something that I have. It comes from the heart. It's always been genuine for me. And if I was to give any advice, that's what I would say. I would say set goals early on. Make yourself aware of where you're trying to head, and then really lean into that. Be genuine, and don't be afraid, and know that we're all afraid, and it's okay to be afraid, but lean into that and lean on your mentors.
Mm-hmm. I think when you're young, you can have the tendency to think, I'm the only one who's afraid. So I think this can be so comforting for people to hear. Kristy, do you have an example of a time when you had to ask for something?
Yeah, I love this conversation because, when I was 25 and I met the mentor I already mentioned, and saw her as a GM, I made a goal to myself that I want to become a general manager by age 40. And I thought that was like a big, hairy goal. Like there's no way, but I just put it out there in the world and day by day, made progress towards it. But I hit a point in my career in my mid 30s in New York where doing marketing in New York, there's not really more room for me to grow in that area. And I hit that proverbial ceiling. And so I thought to myself, like, what do I do next? Like, there's no room for me to grow here. And I put down on paper, become a general manager, join an agency, or, get into sales of some sort with items I really like. And people were talking to me about marketing jobs at that point, and I put out salaries that I was looking for, and it ended the conversation immediately with the numbers I threw out. So, and I got rejected for my dream marketing job. And those no's that I received and the courage it took to when somebody finally called me and said, "Are you ready for a general manager job?" And immediately I was like, "Why, yes, I am." I've been preparing the last 10 years for this, because I had been. That courage in that moment, because I had like put those goals out there and just been like every day taking little steps, was the thing that opened the door for me making that giant jump from marketing to leading the organization. But it really started many, many years before that.
Sometimes no is not a bad answer.
No's can be so great for you.
Mm-hmm. Kathy, what about you?
I think the most courageous thing you can do is set a goal that is very high, and perhaps you can't even envision obtaining it. But in 1996, I had this vision for this National Women's History Museum that was built in Dallas, Texas. And after talking to architects and everything, we knew we needed to raise about $20 million to do it. That's what we thought it would cost. And so we needed a $10 million lead gift to make it really a reality. And we had several board members that worked for the CEO, chairman of the board, Mr. Ed Whitaker of Southwestern Bell, now AT&T, that got us a meeting with him because they had a corporate foundation. And we went in with just our little cardboard model of what our museum would look like and asked him for $10 million from his foundation, thinking we might get 1 or 2 million, but never really believing we would get 10 million. And after asking several questions of us about the development of the museum, and we had our plan already, he said yes. And he said he was going to make it this $10 million gift in honor of all the women that had worked for him and worked for Southwestern Bell over the ages. And it was the largest single gift to any women's program or project at that time in the United States. And he wanted to make it a challenge grant, and we said yes. And very quickly we matched it with another 10, and it ultimately ended up raising $30 million to build that museum in Dallas. So set a goal high, even if you don't think you can obtain it, and sometimes you will.
Okay, council member, I know a lot about you, so I can think of a lot of examples of courage, but I'd like to hear what you think.
Well, so I think I might surprise you. I'm going to be vulnerable. Okay. I'm going to admit that as a recovering people pleaser, I struggle with this every day. I sort of teeter someplace between quietly grumbling about not getting what I asked for or not getting what I want rather, because I didn't ask for it. And then I sort of tip over into this place of frustration, realizing that I'm worth it and I should get this thing that I want. And then I just demand it, right? And so there's this journey. The journey continues of me trying to find that space in the middle where I ask. And so my being elected was an ask. I wanted to represent people who look like me in the policy creation space with no previous political experience and up against the absolute juggernaut that is Texas politics. Frankly, I asked the community to believe in me. I asked them to let me be their voice at City Hall. And that's probably one of the most courageous asks I've made to date.
And they believed in you. Yeah. And thank you for serving the community. You said something that stood out to me there. You said, as a recovering people pleaser. So I think that's a very female trait, but just show of hands here on this panel, who is a people pleaser here or has been at one time? Yeah. No. So we're kind of evenly split. So the three of us can learn from Christy and Kathy. I think y'all can give us some tips. Okay. Here's a tough question, and I think a lot of our folks in the audience will relate to this. Is there such a thing as balance in a woman's life? If so, have you found it? And any suggestions for those of you who have or who are working on it? And I throw this out to anybody on the panel who'd like to answer that.
This pandemic, I think, has thrown just everyone's life into complete disarray, and work-life balance is almost the work life has merged with home life. And many of you that have been on Zoom calls with me, and perhaps at some point during this Zoom meeting, one of my two kids will come flying by or screaming that they need water or a snack or something. And so I think there are positives. I try to see the positives in every scenario. Obviously, this has been an extraordinarily difficult time for everyone. But what I would say, one of the positives that has come out of this for me, also other women in my organization, and I think as a whole in corporate America, is the work-life balance has always been a struggle. It's always been there. COVID has brought it to the forefront. People now see, because you're in my home and because I have to be vulnerable and because I'm on all the time, they see what I'm dealing with regard to my kids running around or needing to prepare snacks or whatever it is. Perhaps pre-COVID, that was somewhat hidden. Was the work-life balance still a struggle? Absolutely. You know, I'm a working mom. I have 2 young kids and a pretty big full-time job. It's always been a struggle. One of the blessings for me during COVID has been this sort of lessening of pressure of needing to be put together all the time, of needing to make it look easy, of needing to be accessible all the time and not have my children around. 2, it's okay. I'm going to take 30 minutes off and go for a walk with my children. So I'm not available for this 30 minutes, but I am in the next. I'm available for the full next hour. My kids may be in the background. They may run in a little bit, but I'm available and you'll have my undivided attention. And so I think for me, I'm not working less, but it's eased some of the pressure, Kristin.
First of all, balance, like it's almost not a fair question to ask. And women talk about it a lot because we're expected to have homemaking duties on top of work duty. And that just is like baked in the process, right? So, but balance to everyone is so different. Like, because I think balance needs to go through your lens of what makes you happy and what makes you to be able to pour out into all these different buckets. And though I don't have kids, I have learned a huge lesson because of COVID. To add to what Melini is saying is I used to be at events 3 or 4 times a week. And then most time I would have something on the weekend. Melini shaking her head because, and I know council member too, like you show up.
We beat them together.
Yes, we're there. It was like, hey, nice to see you. Saw you Tuesday. And when that was stripped away in COVID and I had to be at home, but for me, my balance went the opposite way of like cooking and being outside and incorporating walks during meetings and all of, things that have really made a big difference for me and helped me find more of a balance to where I'm not sure I'll go back to 3 events a week, and I don't think I need to. That's kind of what I learned is, it's just been a really huge lesson for me and one that I also want to give to my employees too. How can we incorporate the outside into our work life, right? Because think about how much COVID has forced us to enjoy the outdoors. And it's been like a thing that's got us through this stress.
Councilmember Kathy, anything to add to this topic?
Balance, I think like everything else it truly is relative. My balance may be another woman's chaos and vice versa. For me, balance means my children don't feel neglected any more than I can avoid. And, because sometimes it's drama. Mom. And sometimes it means that, they actually eat some protein and some vegetables in their relatively steady diet of granola bars and goldfish. And it means that I take a walk with my girlfriend in the evening or sit on the porch and listen to my husband tell me the same story he's told me about his army buddy 27 times in the last 18 years. But it's us spending time together, It means that today I was productive and I was responsive this week. And I remembered to hydrate and eat food and skip carbs. And honestly, I think, when you're thinking about balance, so often we're thinking about accomplishments, we're thinking about tasks, as opposed to like the balance within ourselves. And so for me, balance means that on occasion, the dominoes topple and I'm going to eat cornbread and drink champagne in my bed and watch really trashy television and sleep for 14 consecutive hours, and that may not be, what other people need to sort of strike that balance. But for me, that's what it looks like sometimes. And I think we all just have to offer ourselves the opportunity to recognize that we are as unique as the snowflakes, we all need what it is that we need. Our lives are so uniquely different. So I appreciate, Kristy, that you said it's sort of unfair, right? Because, it's so relative. What does that even mean? Balance, so, but I do think I find peace, if that's what balance means. I've found myself in a position to more frequently find peace. And I think, like Melini said, at some point you just have to go, well, I'm not in control here. This virus is in control, and quarantine is in control, and the circumstances are in control. And I think, letting go of some of that has really offered a lot of us sort of type A's the opportunity to just let it go and do something different.
Kathy, anything to add?
We were asked this question from the very beginning of the early days of the women's movement in the 70s about balance. And it's still a question of on everybody's mind, but I do not know the answer to it. And I didn't have to juggle as much, and not having children. I just am in awe of what all of you can do.
We've all got a different normal, but I think if we've learned one thing, we all want to go hang out at the council member's house when COVID is over and eat cornbread and
I want cornbread in bed too.
Let's talk about the power of women in philanthropy. To truly move the needle, I think it takes groups like this one, United Way for Greater Austin's Women United. And I think this group is really special because it's not just about donating. Members are educated about the issues, and then they're empowered to go and advocate as a group to make lasting and systemic change. So that's one of the reasons why I love being a member of this group. And if you love what you've heard today and would like to join, I think there's going to be a QR code on the screen, and you could join right here too. But I'd love to hear from our panelists. If someone hasn't found a philanthropy that really lights their fire, how do you suggest they find either group to join or philanthropy to give to?
Starting with what's close to your heart is a big deal. For me, coming from a background where I've faced abuse in the past, it's always really important for me to be engaged in that personally. But then also I think about the community I'm in, and I really want to see Austin be a place for everyone where they can thrive and not just for the haves. We need to bring along the have-nots, and we can head a direction where we keep on creating that divide, or we can go this direction, which I think is really great about what United Way does, is we are tackling and standing in that gap to help pull those together. The thing about philanthropy and just giving in general is that it is the best antidote to depression. If you want to be happier, more cheerful, just start giving and focusing on others and not your own problems, and you would be surprised at what that does for just your day. That drives me and lights my fire, because I just feel so much better when I'm not spending my whole time thinking about me. It's like, if I can make somebody else's day better or help the community that we live in, man, that is such a privilege to be a part of. And once you taste that and start to do more and more of it, trust me, you will not want to stop.
Kathy, how about you? I'm sure you get approached all the time to either give your time or treasure. How do you choose?
Like Kristin said, it's the greatest medicine for getting out of your own spinning world or circle or depression. I am so thrilled to be able to give when I come across a program like the United Way Early Matters Greater Austin program, which you can help young children, even from birth till they go to school, be prepared to enter school and learn and succeed in life. Because I think the giving of the privilege of giving to the next generation is the greatest gift you can give in your own time.
Melini, how about you?
I would echo what each of the ladies have said, and it really is a privilege, and it is the most wonderful feeling. And it's okay. What I would say is do what is close to your heart, and it's okay if that changes. I am so grateful. I found United Way years ago, and what initially brought me to United Way was, as I mentioned earlier, I came from very humble beginnings, and so for me, equality is really important. And the fact that United Way's mission is to ensure equality in our community and to end the cycle of poverty, that was really close to my heart. So that's how I initially got involved in United Way. Fast forward, now I'm a mom of 2 young kids, and I am super passionate. I could not be more passionate about equal opportunity for young children, and that equals early childhood education. And, you know, double whammy, United Way just happens to be the leader in that field as well. And so I am so tremendously lucky to be able to fulfill both of those passions with United Way. And it comes to me so genuinely and so naturally that when I look at my children, all I want is to make sure that every other child in Austin has the equal and same opportunity that my children have. And there's really no question. I put my hand up for anything and everything that I can do, including being board chair when I have zero time to do so. But if it means, you know, we can help one child, then I want to do it. And you can hear the passion in my voice, and it's real. And that's what you need to find that passion. I also serve on other boards, the Thinkery, which equally is focused on early childhood education, and then the Chamber Board, which is helping our businesses, and I'm in finance. So I think find things that you have a natural tendency and a natural interest in, and it's not work. I promise you that.
I think you can make goals in this area with your giving, just like we do in our business, right? And so something I started doing just in the last few years was like, this year I'm going to give this much, and this year I'm going to get this. And then you start to like build and practice those. It's just like if you're investing, it's the same thing, except you're investing in the community. And so it's fun to, along with, again, we'll bring it back to the very beginning, that as you climb to lift, right? And so as we climb and grow in our careers, to be able to lift the community around us and make bigger goals of doing that, I do the same with the financial resources I want to dedicate to this.
Council member, any advice for someone who's looking for a place to get involved philanthropically in Austin?
Philanthropy, like really robust, obscene philanthropy, was always a part of my big picture plan. Growing up like Melini with very, very modest means, I dreamed of the day that I would be a very wealthy person who would help others transcend cyclical poverty. And that would be by providing financial resources. I used to say, literally, I'm going to make a bunch of money and I'm going to give it all away. And that said, while I haven't made my millions yet, my most gratifying financial contributions are to women running for office, because a lot of people really overlook the importance of financial contributions to women running for office. It's so important. Organizations that empower women and girls, initiatives that provide basic needs like coats and shoes and school supplies and early education, the things that people need but don't always have access to, as well as those that about their troubles, not worry about their reality, their situation, their station in life, just have some fun. Those are my go-tos. And I think it makes me happy. And I think that's what you should be looking for, something that makes you happy, something that makes you feel like you actually made a difference in somebody else's life. It definitely is, it's the most fulfilling feeling.
And I love the way each of your faces truly lit up when you were talking about philanthropies you're passionate about and giving. I could see it in your eyes. And one thing I'd love to say is, you don't have to be a millionaire to be a philanthropist. Everybody can make a difference in their way, whether it's time or treasure. And that was something that United Way really taught me. Well, thank you all. I learned something that I can use in my life. I hope everybody here today did too. So Councilmember Harper Madison, Kathy Bonner, Christy Gonzalez, Melini Rajput, I wish I were with you all in person today. I would give you a big hug and thank you for your time and insights. You're all empowered women who empower women. You make our community a better place, and we appreciate each of you. Thank you.
And so do you, Kristin. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You've heard a bit today about United Way's important work in the community. Now meet Esmeralda and hear firsthand about how United Way is partnering with thousands of young parents to change themselves and the community for the better.
We went through certain life changes in our life that I lost all my pictures. We were just jumping from houses to houses. Growing up, I felt like I was the only person that I was going through this. I feel like I had to grow up pretty quickly. I had to focus on other things. I don't have nothing to look back on. I can't like talk about it. I was born and raised in Austin. Come from a low-income family. My parents got divorced. Then shortly after, my dad got deported, which led us to be considered homeless. My stepdad passed away when I was 16. And shortly after, I got pregnant of my daughter, who is gonna be 3 years old next March. We just judge someone by how they look. We really don't know what actually is going behind them.
People really don't know what's going on in Austin with families with low income. Poverty is intergenerational. Social and economic barriers are passed down from generation to another if the right supports are not given to the parents. The things that you and I take for granted that many families with low income don't have access to are clear pathways to career and education, early childcare, housing, access to basic needs. Those are the tools that they need to thrive. We at United Way, we're talking about changing systems. It's not one family, it's not 10, it's tens of thousands of families, and you have to be in a very specific place to be able to provide that guidance and insight to other organizations. We partner with a lot of nonprofits, so we are in a unique position of looking at things from outside and gather that input not only from the organizations, but from the people experiencing the poverty in the community.
Our young parents group is benefiting these nonprofit organizations because they actually get feedback from us young parents of the challenges we face daily.
It is very important for them to have a seat at the table because they're the ones who are experiencing the programs. And when programs are not designed for them, the solutions are not efficient.
She was telling me the other day on the meeting we had,
Esmeralda is creating systems change. What she's doing is going to change the lives of many other young parents. She's using her voice and her experience to make sure that other parents have it easier, that they don't have the same barriers that she had when she enrolled originally in her program.
Say cheese, Yoya. I want for my daughter to be able to look back at herself without having to think, oh my gosh, I really had a crazy childhood. I want her to look back and say, wow, my parents did so much for me to be happy now. I want her to be able to show my grandkids that I was able to provide a different life for her than the one I was given.
Wow. Thank you to Esmeralda for sharing that story. It is so difficult to be the next person to speak after that video. Thank you so much for talking about vulnerability that we've talked about today. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to Kristin and to our wonderful panelists, Kathy Bonner, Melini Rajput, Christy Gonzalez, and Natasha Harper Madison. Thank you, ladies, women, for the words today. I was taking notes off to the side, so this was so timely, so encouraging, and we really, truly thank you for sharing your insights with us. I'm Michelle Scott. I am one half of the chairs for the Women United Executive Committee, along with Laura Hernandez-Holmes. We have taken up the charge this year to lead the Executive Committee for Women United, and we are so fortunate and grateful to be able to do that. I joined Women United for many of the reasons that you've heard today, and one that stood out was, something that Melini said about equal opportunity. I'm a mom and I have 3 little ones, and going through the challenges as a working mom and as a wife and all these many hats that we wear, I'm especially empathetic to the challenges that, you know, so many families are facing in our communities, and how important it is to have support and equal opportunities for all the kids in our community. Like David shared, United Way for Greater Austin's mission is to bring people, ideas, and resources together to fight poverty in our community. Women United is just one example of that mission in action. This is a donor network of diverse, vibrant women supporting United Way. Our members are committed to creating powerful, female-driven, philanthropic opportunities to fight poverty in Austin. Now more than ever, we are seeing how important United Way's work is. For decades, Women United and United Way has been fighting inequities in our community that right now COVID-19 has exposed in greater ways. It's always been there, but we're seeing it even more now. Instead of striving for going back to normal, I think that's a phrase we've all decided we don't want to hear anymore, going back to normal, where in fact 1 in 10 households in our communities are working hard but not able to make ends meet. Let's reimagine a system that works for everyone in our community. So when you support United Way, your investment is helping children and families in Austin have access to education, health, and financial stability. To those of you who are already Women United members, thank you so much. Your investment allows us to continue this important work. For those of you who are guests, maybe this is even your first time with us today, we invite you to join the tribe. Become a member, right? For just $100 a month or $1,200 a year investment, you can help join the pack and fight the charge in the community. I think there will be a link in the chat box, so you can click the link there. In addition to knowing that you are making a difference in the lives of children and families in our communities, members have access to exclusive networking events and meaningful volunteer and advocacy opportunities. In just a few moments, we'll be doing a drawing for a stay at the beautiful home outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Current Women United members and those who join today will automatically be entered in the drawing.
So if you would like to make a one-time donation to support the United Way's mission, click on the link in the chat box. Your donations are helping us fight poverty in Austin. And in fact, I am thrilled to announce that one of our co-chairs, Marianne Rochelle, and her husband, Martin, have given a generous match and will match dollar for dollar every donation that's made today up to $10,000. This is so amazing. Marianne, thank you so much for this generous match. Your donations made today will be doubled, so please give a one-time donation or sign up to be a Women United member with us. Your donations are helping us make lasting change. You know, more children from families with low income have entered kindergarten ready to succeed. And in fact, in the last 5 years, that school readiness for these children has increased from 29 to 38%. That's awesome. More families and individuals are receiving services and resources through United Way's helpline 211 for basic needs like food, rental assistance, health services, to find out where to get a COVID-19 test. And in fact, since March, 211 has taken over 85,000 calls for help. This is a 41% increase since last year. And your support will help people like Esmeralda, parents like Esmeralda, by expanding programs that serve parents and children simultaneously. So a $3,000 difference in a parent's income actually produces a 17% increase in that child's future earnings, which is amazing. These are just 3 examples of the way your donation can help the United Way's mission. I get the exciting announcement of announcing the winner for the drawing of this week-long private stay that I think I'm gonna hit up Missy and JB for after this winner is announced, because it sounds amazing. This 5-bedroom, 5.5 bathroom, gorgeous home home. It's the perfect idyllic mountain getaway. And I want to remind y'all that all Women United members and those who joined today are eligible for this drawing. So drum roll, please. Let me make sure I've got it. Okay, the winner is Barbara Caraway. Barbara, wave. Barbara, I hope you enjoy the beautiful stay in Asheville, North Carolina. I hope it's a great respite from these challenging times. Thank you, everyone. I know many people on this call probably have 11 o'clock Zooms because y'all are busy, busy people. So thank you for your time, your generosity, your support. I know I speak on behalf of my amazing co-chair, Michelle Scott, and the rest of the executive committee for the Women United group when I say we are very much looking forward to seeing you in person and gathering together when the time is right. Until then, stay well and stay happy.